Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Hey, you're mute, man. Okay, everybody, wait for William to come back in. So, there we go.
All
Yeah,
right.
you're good now.
Oh, and my sound was all fucked up last night for the overnight show. Is because that computer it redid its own drivers and never installed the drivers, and I didn't realize it till the show was over. It pissed me off. But anyway, hey, happy Sunday. It's 111 degrees here today. Once again, way above the high. And guess what? We got possible isolated thunder showers fucking up the next few weekends, according to what I just looked at the weather. So not only is it too hot for mankind, but hey, just a little bit more damage to add on top of that. Chappie, dude, how many did you? I'm gonna have to look back at this because every other week you're reminding me about a watch party that I don't remember. I'm not saying you're lying or nothing, but I got to go look because it's been a while since I looked at those lists. But how many did you do, dude? How many we have to sit through? But thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the support there.
Yeah, thanks for the super chat, man.
All right. 35 years ago today, earlier this afternoon, it would have been on a Friday for me, back in June of 1989. Batman was released. And it meant a lot for superhero movies because it had been a long time since there had been a really good one released. Even back in the 80s, Superman's 3 and 4 were panned as awful. I mean, nobody looked at those movies as positive. I know a lot of people like, oh, Superman 3 and 4 are some of my favorites. Nobody gives a fuck back then.
Nobody says that. Come on.
Yeah. No, back then, that ended the Superman franchise. Those two movies pretty much ended the Superman franchise. Yeah. So
you
basically went
of that too.
Yeah, which was a bomb. You basically went from Superman 2 in 1980. There'd be another 9 years before there was a massive blockbuster regarding a traditional superhero, and Batman was it. And this was at the end of the rehabilitation of Batman. Because a lot of Batman sells and everything, like I always explain when we do these stories, a lot of these, Batman just wasn't moving well, in the early 80s. It wasn't until the mid 80s where Dark Knight Returns came out. A lot of the storylines started changing, a lot of the tension started to shift, and that allowed for the environment to where Batman. Tim Burton's Batman was released, because if you look at the stuff that in the media that had been in Batman prior to that, it was Adam West's Batman, it was Super Friends Batman, it was things like that appealed to kids but not collectors. So the sales of the comic weren't doing as good as they could possibly be. from 1986 to 1989, Batman went through a renaissance. I mean, you would not have been able to pull off a 1989 Batman in like 1983 or 1984. It just wasn't going to happen. It had to go through that renaissance in order for people to be willing to accept what was going to happen. And I remember the atmosphere when this movie came out. I mean, it was big. Batman was everywhere. Batman was on.
I was a baby and I still remember it.
Yeah, you was on the T-shirts. This logo was everywhere. That poster, you see, June 30th. That poster was everywhere. It was in the theaters like months and months in advance. You know, it was big. It was probably, let's see, on a $48 million budget, Batman, and this is for its time, pulled in $411 million.
That would likely be in excess of $1 billion today, you know, just for inflation.
Yeah. When you look at the current problems that Warner Brothers has pulling in that kind of money now, they were doing this, you know, back in 1989. So $411 million with adjusted dollars, like, yeah, right, will be right up in the $1 billion era. I mean, and it was huge. I mean, I remember getting my tickets in advance because it was selling out. It was selling out in theaters. I mean, a couple days in advance. I remember going to Krikorian Theater on Del Rosa and getting the last of the tickets that were available because it came out the last day of school, the last day of my freshman year. And I left my freshman year. I literally left my freshman because, you know, freshmen, we didn't have graduation or anything. I went right to Krikorian Theater. So it was dropped off and I saw it. Saw it a couple of different times. I mean, it was big. I mean, the Prince soundtrack, I mean, it was huge. Danny Elfman.
So ran that far into June?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It started in it actually started on my birthday and would end in June.
Oh, okay. So it started in September, yeah. Yeah, it's already good.
Yeah. Obviously, started Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, Kim Basinger, Robert Wool, Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon, Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, which they never went back to. Jack Palance, Danny Elfman did the. At the time, I really loved that score. After seeing it used in places where it probably should have never been used, I don't have a good feeling about it as much as I did it before. But yeah, it was the Batman. This was the first Superman, or the first comic book movie that merchandised on the level that you would see going forward. It would set the stage for the partnerships that Warner Brothers would set up with McDonald's, Burger King. I mean, depending on if they were fighting for sponsorships for this, everybody lined up to be connected with this IP at the time. It was the biggest thing going. It boosted comic book sales because, like I said, a good swath of the audience just thought Batman was a joke. Most of the people who you would talk to Batman in the 80s, Adam West would come up. And rest in peace. He did what he did. You know, it was a time and place for that. But the general public's version of Batman was Batman doing the go-go dancing or on the surfboard, or Robin being eaten by a giant clam, or something campy and silly. And like I said, Frank Miller came along and helped change that. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, and as we rolled into 1988, you had things like The Killing Joke. These are stories that you would not have been able to have just 5 years prior. And that set the stage because I don't think you get Batman 1989 unless there was a recovery there. There are still people who are debating on what kind of Batman movie should be released. I remember getting the debates with people saying, well, they should just go back to using Adam West. He's still young enough to play the role. And I'm like, no. Even Adam West was trying to get the role.
Campaigning for it, yeah.
Yeah, he was campaigning for the role, and I'm like, I don't think people understand that there was a time and place for that Batman, and it wasn't 1989. So,
and he was, I think, probably like mid-60s at that point. So,
no, he would have been actually younger. He would have been late.
Oh, really?
He would have been in his mid to late 40s because he died just recently.
Yeah.
And let's see, Adam West.
Yeah, he was like late 70s when he passed away.
So Adam West was okay. Adam West was 88. So you just minus. He was aged 88 when he passed away. So he passed away 30 years. So he was in his mid 50s. He was in his mid 50s, still wanting to play Batman. But like I said, because that's the role he was most identified with. But
so
that's
well,
where
and
we were,
like, go ahead.
that's where we were at with Batman in 1988, 1989. We look at Batman, and we have, we have Ben Affleck, we have Robert Pattinson, we have Christian Bale. This was not the atmosphere that this movie was released in. Not at all. We had to work to get to this spot. So real quick, because I just jumped right into that. Hi, Ruthie.
Let's go, Ruth. Yeah, how's the family member? Someone in Ruth's family, she had to take him to get a boot put on because they broke their ankle. So hope to do better. Hope to do better, Ruth.
Yeah, she's talking about she just realized that there were 2 more Lost Boys movies. You may just want to forget about those second 2. Let's see. How you doing, nerd?
How's it going, everybody?
The fourth is singing a song. And there's a whole bunch of people saying stuff to each other in the chat. I don't know what's going on in the chat.
Yeah, probably it's a whole Tra thing,
I'm sorry to hear this, Chappie, because it was an absolutely awful movie. But
I was 5, and it's like, I mean, that actively did damage to my image of Superman at that age.
Well, it did damage that, and the Quest for Speech did damage to the franchise.
Yeah, I didn't see Quest for Peace. That's how much damage it did. I didn't see Quest for Peace until I was like 10. So, and that was long after it had been released. So it's like, I mean, I had a period there was like, it's at least cinematically, I was not, and maybe that's why I didn't get so much into Lois and Clark. Cause, I mean, obviously now anything, any movies, TV, whatever, Superman or Batman, of course, I'm just diving on all of them. But I mean, that one for Superman specifically, that's like that made like, I think outside of like comics and cartoons, that really kind of, it's like no, that pushed me away from like Superman movies or Superman live action media for a long time.
Yeah, and audiences too. I mean, they made another one. Like the Quest for Peace was an awful business decision. I don't know why that movie was even made, but it was bad. That was back in, like I said, in the 80s and 90s, because you had no other way to make money off of a movie theater. The only ways you had money, only other ways you had to make money is when it hit VHS. That's it. I mean, it took a while to get to there. Even back when Titanic's day, but nowadays it's just not beneficial for a studio to keep it out there that long, because, like I said, there's so many other people that get a cut of that money. They just want it all. They want it all. They want it quickly. Let's see. Okay, what are you guys talking about? What is I haven't seen outside of the show, but can you? Okay, I'm not sure what they're talking about. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. I got my seats. I got my normal seat, but I was there when the theater opened that day. And like I said, it filled up. There were people dressed up in the line.
Yeah, and as I said, it's like I was a baby when the first one came. So probably the first theatrical experience I can remember. I don't know if it was the first movie I saw in theaters, but it definitely is the first one I remember seeing in theaters was Batman Returns. A few years later, because that's when it was a little bit older, it had long-term memory. And eventually, I did a few years ago. Because anybody's familiar with this thing called flashback cinema, where a lot of theater chains participate, like weekly, they'll put out like some old classic in theaters. So about like 2018, I think it was. That's when I finally got to see Batman '89 theatrically. So I was really happy I was able to do that, because now I've seen, they've seen every Batman movie theatrically now, other than the one I had to fight for. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, H Parts? You got to explain to me one day your new name, Ella Purnell Simp. I've seen your Twitter site too. So what made you change that to that? Was it I'm assuming it was Fallout. So congratulations there, Andrew.
I'm sorry,
Andrew. This movie set the tone today. Yeah, it basically gave them it. Unfortunately, though, they didn't take a lot. They didn't take as much from it as I think they should have, because you went through that period of the mid 90s. You went for a good 12 or 10-year period to where a Batman movie wouldn't have that kind of global effect until The Dark Knight, because Batman Begins didn't make a lot of money. I mean, it did all right, but it made like $420 something million. It didn't even.
It didn't even do that. It did like 370 something.
Yeah. So
it was by no means a bomb, but it wasn't it didn't do 89 numbers, because they're still kind of
the world wasn't talking about it. The world was talking about Batman 89. The world wasn't talking about that movie. The world was talking about The Dark Knight once Heath Ledger was casted, and once you saw his performance, the world was talking. So we wouldn't reach the conversation, it being on the conversation on the lips of everybody, geek or non-geek, until The Dark Knight. And then at that point, you had, the MCU, and you had all these other movies that came out. But Batman in 1989 was it. There was no comparison to what that movie did, both financially and risk-wise. Because a lot of people, I remember people were saying this movie's going to bomb because it's too dark, it's too gritty, it's too violent. Keep in mind, it's 1989. That kind of violence is a kid shit today. But back then, because like I said, we were still going through the throes of the general public looking at Adam West's Batman, or the Super Friends Batman, as being what Batman was. And meanwhile, you had writers and Neil Adams, you had all these guys that were doing these comics in the mid 70s all the way through the mid 80s that were writing what Batman was, and it just wasn't breaking through. And but once like I said, once Frank Miller took hold, it just broke through. All the work that those other guys were doing previously was able to break through because of the controversy of what The Dark Knight Return was. And then The Killing Joke, once again, The Killing Joke got a lot of publicity, and The Killing Joke was released a year before Batman. So, like I said, I always like to think of Batman 89 as a renaissance, the capping off to the rehabilitation of Batman. So that's why it's special for me. But nice to see you, Andrew. I think that's the first time I saw you. Now go ahead and pull up the super chat. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the fourth had a super. He was clarifying what they were kind of talking about in the. Yeah, we were talking about actors' looks on the boys being 20. Okay. Thanks for the super chat. And actually, by the way, since we're, I'm going to share. I forgot to. I can't believe I forgot to do this on my social media today, but I'm going to go ahead and do this tonight. I'm also going to share it on here for you guys, with this being 35th anniversary of Batman 89. Little personal plug here. But yeah, this does absolutely relate to it. And no, it does not relate to the Raid, even though William's probably thinking it. Even though this is a guy who could have been in one of the Raid movies. I did make the connection anyway. Let me go. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this is on Kung Fu Kingdom. This is an interview I did about 6 years ago with Mr. Dave Lee, who was, for those of you who may not know, he was Michael Keaton's stuntman on Batman Returns. So, he of course, as you can see, a phenomenal martial artist, and he worked with guys like Van Damme and Philip Ree, and he was very prolific in the stunt world. He unfortunately passed away a few years ago. I think he was in his early 60s, but that was a real privilege. You getting to speak to him, and him just share stories about just making a Batman and just his life and stunts, and he definitely had he was very animated. He's a real pleasure to talk to. So yeah. Just wanted to go and share with everybody. I got to talk to the man behind Michael Keaton's Batman fight moves and stunts a few years ago, Mr. David Lee. And rest in peace, Dave.
Oh, he passed away today?
Not today. I think he passed away like about 3 years ago, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But yeah, he was in his early 60s. Yeah. He's a lot of fun. He was a real character. He was very, like I say, he was very animated. He was very jovial. So, and you can see, like, a lot of the photos, you guys got to check out that interview. He's very flexible too. He's quite the martial artist, quite the stunt guy, and of course that flexibility, of course, goes in very handy when you're wearing that cowl, because it's very restrictive. As again, and the thing about it is too, like, this is something that it always stood out to me, because what contrasting 89 to Returns is now obviously when you talk about like fight scenes in superhero movies, we kind of take them for granted now. They're going to actually be really good, because I would say probably since in the last like 10, 12, 14 years, that's when we started really like regularly getting like great fight choreography, great action, great martial arts in a superhero movies. But back it was, I mean, yeah, that was the same year as the Berlin Wall collapsed. That's crazy. I think that
November that wall fell November of 1989.
yeah. But going back to Dave, so yeah, we take for granted these days. You get fight scenes like the BBS warehouse fight, or like the Daredevil hallway fights, or the action in superhero movies as far as fight choreography tends to be very stellar today. But back during this period, it was definitely because CBMs are still very much finding their footing. It was you didn't necessarily expect. You were lucky when you got like a really memorable fight scene. And looking back at '89,
you got a movie. You were lucky when you got a movie.
Yeah, exactly. So like count your blessings there, and like if you get like one or two good fight scenes out of it, it's like, oh, that's like the cherry on top. And '89, like for like again the cowl being so notoriously restrictive, and it actually has some pretty decent fight scenes in, like I think like the alley fight and the fight with the the of course big henchman in the bell tower. But then they get to Returns, and I look at that like, what the hell happened between movies? Because it's like Returns has, bar none, I think some of the worst fight scenes in any superhero movie. I mean, it is crazy how bad they are. And again, contrasting with 89, which actually again for their time are pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, when it came to Batman, and like I said, Film Junkie pointed out that the graphic that I used was from Batman Returns. But I associate that one with every time I think of that Batman '89, I think of that image. And so I just used it. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But
yeah, Dave, or not Film Junkie, not Film Junkie. Yeah, I was gonna say Dave, not Film Junkie, but Dave Lee. He passed away in August of 2022. So. So he was about 67. Yeah. So then, yeah. So rest in peace. Yeah. As Aaron says, yeah, rest in peace, Dave Lee.
Yeah. Now this would lead on to like I said, for Batman, for the most part, with the exception of the 4 movies that were released from 1989 to 1997. 2 of them I really, I enjoyed. Batman '89 and Batman Forever is one of my favorite superhero movies, period. Batman Returns was a disappointment for me, and Batman and Robin is something I wish I could unsee. I just wish I could to take my own memory away from that movie, but it wasn't that good at all. But and like I said, it would be there was no trend. You think that a movie like this, Batman 1989, $411 million, if you looked at the what's the second one make? I know the second one took a
the second one took a dip. It was like 262, I think, which was still pretty good. But I mean, they had a bigger budget, and of course, obviously, you take that kind of from 1 to 2. Obviously, the studio is going to take note of that. Although back then it wasn't expected for like the sequel to double what the predecessor did. So it's like, although in this case it's like, I mean, that was what motivated them to say, okay, we got to lighten it up with the third one, and that's what led to Batman Forever having a much lighter tone.
And I didn't think that tone was light. I thought it was not as moribund as Returns was, but that movie had some pretty deep shit in it, and it just was they handled it better. It was for me, I don't think Batman Forever was a lighter tone movie. I just think it moves faster. I just think that the things that in Batman Returns just drug down the plot. It drug down the characters. There was nothing about the action in it wasn't good. It was just it was a big drop off. Whereas you had a lot of dark shit in Batman Forever, but it was just paced to the point where I remember fighting to stay awake in Batman Returns. That's how I remember. I saw that in '92. I remember it, and I wasn't 18. I was just fighting because the movie's pace was just so bad and so slow, and I didn't have those problems in Batman Forever. It was just a faster paced movie. The action was there, and it was just, like I said, completely different. And no, I don't need to see the Schumacher cut. I think the version I saw is the only one I ever need to see. But yeah, Batman Returns was a huge disappointment because you walk in 3 years later expecting to see something on the same level as what made that movie possible, and It just wasn't there. And then they went to a completely goofball direction in Batman and Robin. And
Yeah. We all know how that went. We all know what happened there. No need to relitigate all that, but yeah, it definitely was. And that's the thing too. Is like, I remember something. Stephen Colbert. He mentioned is that like really that's the that was the part of the fate of law. Now I don't know how you could have pulled this off back in the 90s because cinematically you had not established the concept of the multiverse or Elseworlds, so kind of coexisting versions of Batman or any DC characters might not have it probably been a hard to sell back then. But he said like a key part of the downfall of Batman and Robin was the idea that they're trying to link it up to what Tim Burton established, tonally and continuity wise. And he made the point. Now again, this may be up for debate about whether or not anyone thinks this would have been a winning strategy, but if they had actually marketed Batman and Robin as like this is Adam West for the 90s, your mindset going into that is going to be completely different from I'm expecting a continuation of Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer. So again, I don't know if that makes it a better movie or makes it a bit bigger success.
Well, the marketing was bad because they did that whole Adam West thing, and when you watch the movie, there's nothing remotely Adam West type in that movie. So you basically, if anybody listened to that marketing, they basically came in and were disappointed if you came in looking for that. Tim Burton's time, the thing about the 1989 movie, as good as it was, it had its window of relevancy and what that being the type of movie people would go to see in the mid 90s. Got to realize that there's a different type of movie being released in the late 80s, and Batman, for as deep as it was in the 80s, was still an 80s movie. Now we're moving on into a completely different era of movie making. The type of superheroes that we're getting in the forefront were not movies like that. You got the Crows, you have the Mask, you have the Tank Girls. The tone that the same demographic that you shot at, when you aimed at for 89 was not. We changed. 14-year-old me is a big difference when you're talking about 20-year-old me in the mid 90s. It's just not. You can't make that same type of movie and expect for it to land all the time. But yeah, I remember the ad campaign. Listen, if you want to kill Batman in the 90s with the contemporary audience of 18 to 35 years old, bring up Adam West, because that is not their Batman. Adam West amongst our age groups, unless you watch the show, was considered a joke because that's what the networks wanted it. And our demographic didn't want our superheroes to be jokes. So I remember them, saying we're moving in a direction towards Adam West. I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid. If it were 1967, yeah, awesome idea. But that was, like I said, but it was a new thing. They didn't know how to market movies like they do now. It's a totally different thing now. So they paid the price though, because that movie sucked. I don't know what it did financially, but I know that ended consideration for any more Batman for a while. Batman Forever was the perfect ingredient. It was for that era. It was what they needed to keep doing. I don't know what Joel Schumacher was on at that time. Rest in peace to him too. But
he wasn't even on anything. It was Warner Brothers was on the stuff saying we have to turn this into a big toy commercial, and he's just like, okay,
they're all toy commercials. They were all toy commercials. Batman 89 is nothing but a toy commercial. Batman 92 is a toy. All these movies were toy commercials. They were all toy commercials. So it's, but there's at some point it is the person behind the director's chair that has the tone of the movie. If you watch Batman and Robin, unless God interfered in that movie, I don't think that movie you could have improved that movie. That's Joel Schumacher's movie. It's his movie, and he even in subsequent interviews later on in life, he would explain what he was trying to do, and I'm like, okay, I needed the interference there. I need I needed somebody to step in and say, okay, dude, no, because he was going to go far beyond with the movie we got, and the movie we got wasn't very good. So at some point, somebody needed to come in and say, what is this? And it was too late anyway, because his fingerprints are all over that movie in a way that the exact opposite of what they are in the previous movie. The same guy who did Batman Forever did Batman and Robin. I can't grasp that. can't
Well,
reconcile.
especially like you watch a lot of Schumacher's other like the rest of his body of work. I mean, he's done some dark stuff. I mean, he did
Yeah.
some really dark, a really dark and like the tone of Batman, like applied to other characters and other stories. Like he's done that, or he did that, I should say, throughout his career before he passed away
Well,
a
he
few
did
years
that
ago.
with Batman. He did that with Batman Forever. He did that with Batman Forever. That's where he needed to stay on. I don't know why he thought that movie was a success. I don't know why he thought he needed to change the formula that had worked for him just 2 years earlier. I don't know. Maybe he was going through. I don't know. But Batman and Robin's a horrible movie. And I don't think it's horrible because of the studio. I think it's horrible because I think he tried things with that movie. I think he got credibility and he got licensed with Batman Forever. And he was like, well, let's try this. And I'm like, okay, dude, it's time for you to leave the kitchen.
Well, it's like you say, it's like God Himself interfering. That would have been like the only saving grace if any, there could have been any for Batman or Robin. But yeah, I think you put that script and that set of circumstances in anybody else's hands. I don't think that suddenly makes it a great movie either.
Yeah, and didn't he do the script for that movie? Who did the script for Batman?
No, that was not. I don't think he did either script. Let me go and look that up.
And
By the way, they broke the bank on the budget making Batman and Robin. That cost like the budget apparently was 125 to 160 million, which that was 160 million back then. It's like if you're not like, I mean, again, these days it's fairly commonplace, but if not very commonplace. So it's like, I mean, you back then it's like, I mean, you're like 1 inch away from getting fired if you're greenlighting with a budget back in '97, 160.
Akiva Goldsman. Oh. And he's done some really good stuff. This just wasn't it. I mean, you're talking about a guy and that guy he's done Star Trek shit that I like.
Well, he did Batman Forever too.
Yeah, he did. So the same people. I mean, it's like, dude. Let's see. His iRobot was really good. Cinderella Man was really good. I Am Legend was really good. This guy's like got like a Hall of Fame. Transformers Last Night was horrible. The Dark Tower was horrible. Okay, Untitled Constantine sequel.
That's like in the work. That's what Keanu wants to get going. He did the Da Vinci Code, which I mean, of course, that's divisive. But for other reasons, but that's divisive.
Well, that's because the content of it. Yeah. Angels and Demons. He did a whole bunch of those. Divergence. Yeah. So he's got credibility, and like I said, just 2 years earlier, he made, which at the time I felt was the best Batman movie. I love Batman Forever. And I'm like, you told me Batman and Robin, and I'm like, okay, well, this is all right. It was successful. It was, Robin being put in Batman Forever was successful and everything else. The costume was cool. He's like 50 because they didn't want to use a kid at the time to play Robin. I understand. All right, that's fine. But when you brought him back, I mean, like I said, Batman and Chris O'Donnell, I think, was the same age as George Clooney at the time.
O'Donnell, he was like mid-20s, but I mean, again, he's
too old to be Robin.
Well, also, I mean, that's probably also like a sad consideration. Like you can only if a kid's under 18, they can't like. They can't like do like a full day's work. They have restrictions on the number of hours they can film each day. So once they're over the age of 18, they're in there. That's why you have 25-year-olds cast as teenagers so often in movies, because it's like we don't have to worry about violating child labor laws that way.
I have different words for Batman and Robin. Classics is not one of the words I use for him. And then I get people say, well, because they use today's WB and the last 10 years WB and try to equate that to 1980s and 1990s WB, not the same. Different people running the show then. And for the most part, they're making good decisions in that era. So now, if it was 2013 or 2017 WB rolling in there, yeah, I'd be like, okay, no. But yeah, we're talking about they were on a roll, and they were on a roll with that character. So yeah, that but yeah, 1989 Batman. It set the stage for things, but not for as much as you think it would. When you look at the era we're in now, other things set the stage for the era we're in now. And you think Batman 89 would have had a much larger stake in it, but they didn't. There's not a lot of connective tissue, in my opinion, between that era and this era. More stuff happened in the early 2000s rolling into that for me that, like I said, for as far as like the ensemble movies we have now, the ensemble movies, X-Men was what, it was what told all these studios that we can do an ensemble cast movies and we can tell a very lengthy story. And that's what Kevin Feige took, and Kevin Feige evolved that into what we have now. But that was the movie. Even he said that was X-Men was the movie that said we could do things on this scale and have it work. I mean, get some 3 or 4 big name actors, playing the roles. I mean, Halle Berry was at that point had won an Academy Award. She had just won one, or she was just about to win one for Monsters Ball.
And she was.
I
think
she had already won. She had already won. She won because she won the same day Denzel won for Training Day, and that was in 2000. So like I said, that's the movie. If you trace the lineage back into mega movies and the universes that we have now, that movie was the most important. And then you had Spider-Man happening, and then you had MCU. So, but like I said, I don't see the direct ties like I think I should between a movie like Batman and what we have now. It's weird. You think there would be.
Well, again, because like you look at the comic book movies we got. So, by the way, I do have to take exception to your description that we, other than Superman 2 and Batman 89, we had no CBM hits in the 80s. Because like, are you forgetting that timeless masterpiece Swamp Thing?
No, because I actually like the movie. But
yeah. But it wasn't a hit. I'm
that's like that's like a Blade type of situation. And even if it was a hit, it wasn't because it was a comic book movie. Because
it wasn't. It was Blade if it wasn't a hit, basically. Yeah. But yeah, as far as like everything that came after Batman between '89 and 2000, again, it was more Batman. And then Blade was the only hit, between that period. But then everything else is we had a lot of obscure like CDM. We didn't have like we had the Rocketeer, we had the Phantom, we had but
Dick
Batman,
Tracy. Dick Tracy and Batman were the only ones that people actually knew were comic book characters up until 2000 and 2002. All the other ones that were released were driven on star power and things like that. So in some cases, not even the Rocketeer, because I don't think the Rocketeer made a lot of money because not only did they not know what the character was, its star power at that time wasn't like the top tier A-lister type of situation. At least with Batman, you had Beetlejuice previously.
Yeah, it's developed. The Rocketeer's developed a following. That was one I really it's close to my heart because I did see it as a kid. But yeah, it wasn't a success in its time. It's become very beloved in the years since. But yeah, it wasn't.
That doesn't do those people who made those movies at the time.
No,
like, hey, sitting in a rocking chair. It finally clicked. But yeah, if you look at the 80s, it was Superman and Batman were the only recognizable ones that were hits at that point. Even in the 2000s, it was Batman, because the other comic book movies that happened, and includes Blade, like The Crow and The Mask, the majority of the people who laid down money for those did not know those were comic book characters. So those really didn't move the genre along. Batman, even if you never picked up a comic book, Superman, obviously those are comic book characters. I mean, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, so you could use that as a barometer to say, can we use IPs in the same form, the same way? Whereas these other movies, I mean, how can you gauge whether you should ever make another comic book movie based on a movie that no one knew was a comic book? I mean, so you could make more of that particular movie, but that's not necessarily going to influence a genre like Spider-Man, X-Men, and the movies those did. All right, from this point on, we're just going to hit the chat.
All right.
If you want to send a super chat and help me buy Robert Meyer Burnett's lunch that I'm going to have to interview him with, you can go ahead and hit that too.
Larry has a good point here as far as like this is sort of straddling the line. What I'm saying about like the CBMs and superhero properties we got between '89 and 2000, but the Flash TV show, it was good. It also, I mean, the budget obviously was, it ended up being, it's kind of its unfortunate downfall. But yeah, that was, as far as like DC characters, like the Flash TV show, it was really the only one they really kind of, and Danny Elfman, say what you will about him now with, stuff that's happened both professionally and personally, but he did the score for that, and probably you could see the seeds of Batman's success kind of like feeding into like why they kind of
Well, it
why
was
they
the same
agreed with the
people.
Flash.
It,
Yeah,
it was the same people that worked on Batman worked on the Flash. That's the problem. You had a cinematic budget, people working on a TV show.
yeah.
They got 22 episodes, and it was like I said, it was really good.
Well, the pilot it wasn't a pilot. It was a TV movie. It was the first
Yeah.
episode was like a whole 90-minute TV movie origin story for Barry Allen, and the effects were just just out of this world for their time. I mean, and of course, as was the budget. So,
And here's what
for a
happened.
TV
Let
show.
me give you the numbers, because it declined as it went on because of the night it was on and the frequency, because it wasn't like the pilot. 22 million people watched the pilot. And now September 20th, 1990. That was a Saturday, right?
And 22 million, that's a fantastic number for a pilot.
Yeah, that's huge for anything. 2019 was a thing. So that was day of the week. So that was because I know this show. I know this show primarily aired on Saturdays. That was another
Yeah. Well, also, like I think apparently there was talk about like the coverage of the Gulf War kind of like tended to just sort of interfere with like a lot of their intended air times.
Okay, hold on for a second. So, all right, the pilot was September 20th. Okay, here's something interesting. September 20th, 1990. It was on a Thursday. It debuted on a Thursday on CBS. So it actually went up against new episodes of like Cosby and Cheers, and it drew that. All right, so here's what happened. So now, if you look at its it did the first two episodes were on Saturday. Now, it looks like if you look at October when it got on its normal run. All right, so October, so its next two episodes are October 18th. So October 18th was still on a Thursday. It didn't start dropping in ratings until they moved it on Saturday, because it eventually got moved to Saturday, because the ratings, even though those ratings were good, they still weren't, they felt that they needed a show, like I said, must-see TV. At that time, you had shows like St. Elsewhere, Hill Street Blues, I think, was still on. Might still be on. The Cosby Show was still on. So that was they were competing with NBC, so they ended up moving a show. So it was and then, like I said, the money that they spent to develop that show. Now, when it moved to Saturday, its ratings it went from 22 million from the first Saturday it aired to like 16, and then 13 and 13, and all the way down to its last episode was 11.4, which is still a lot of people watching your show. But for the money the ad revenue that you were getting on Saturday versus what you got on Must See Thursday, it didn't justify its budget. It was a super expensive show. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. That costume was beautiful. The effects were beautiful.
That costume was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and the stars that they got on there were really cool. They didn't.
They got Mark Hamill. You got Mark Hamill. Yeah. He was, as far as the villains, he was probably the one who's kind of had the most legacy out of the 90s Flash show. Was Mark Hamill as the trickster.
Yeah, and he was on there. I mean, John Wesley Shipp, he was unknown at the time, but he would end up he would end up using that. Jay Garrick was in there. I mean, Star Labs was there. I mean, this was a really good show, but once again, it was just too expensive. It was too expensive for the night and there was nowhere else to put it where it wasn't going to be competing. Now, remember, we only had the three networks back. I mean, we had Fox, but Fox is a 3-year-old network with that wasn't there yet. It had two shows, and most of that was on Sunday. They weren't competing with anybody else as far as like the big three, the ABCs, the CBSs, and all that. So, but yeah, man, the Flash any other time, because like I said, what they did with the Flash, and then you look at the WB Flash or the CW Flash, that's the kind of money, and you can't actually. I mean, it turns out you can't spend that kind of money on the Flash, but if they would have spent that kind of production value on that CW show, it might actually have been decent after 4 seasons. But,
yeah, it did have a great suit. I don't think we've had there hasn't been a Flash suit yet that I haven't liked in live action. I dug them all.
The TV one looks okay. I think it makes his head look big. This is me.
Yeah, I also kind of I did enjoy with the '90s Flash suit, because they actually, and it is a subtle detail, and maybe it's more of a me thing, but they made the way they had the lightning bolt like really kind of run down most of his chest, and they made the oval smaller, because usually in the comics it tends to be fairly large, but they actually made the oval smaller than it's usually depicted. I don't know why, but that just always I just thought it was a nice touch.
A lot of that depends on the artist, so some of the artists do it and they go all crazy with it and shit. But I'll show you. But then it's like let's see. Oops, I should have wrote the wrong one. I meant to put the flash. Why did I put 1998? Bam. There you go. There's that costume. This right here was like top. This was top tier, man. That's airbrush. I mean, they took a lot of money. It's airbrush. It's foam fabric. It moved with him. I mean,
it's form fitting.
Yeah. And it looked really cool when you saw him move. When he went really quick. And there's Barry Allen. Even though nobody ever does every Barry Allen's a blonde, but I guess that's gonna.
Yeah, I've always found that so amusing. We now have 3 live action Barry Allens, not one of them was blonde.
There's the Trickster. There's Mark Hamill. There's Jay Garrick, and his costume. That's exactly how he looks.
Yep.
I mean, he went right from it, and then he's this whole.
Yeah, that's what John Wesley Shipp, as far as like a DC legacy guy. I mean, so because he's been Barry Allen, he's been Henry Allen, and he's been Jay Garrick.
Yeah, people forgot about that.
And he's also been Evil Flash, yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then they did this. That looks like shit, but I understand where they were going, because if you look at it, this apparently this is from
that was from an Infinite Crisis, I think. It was the crossover they did. That was the last one before Crisis on Infinite Earths that the CW did. It
looks like they didn't maintain the suit, and they just drug out the same suit and said, "Here, dust this off."
Well, that's got to be a new lightning bolt on it. That just doesn't match up with the other lightning.
It looks like it's cardboard, dude. That lightning bolt. Zoom in on that. That looks like cardboard, dude.
That has to be a new lightning bolt they put on for there.
Yeah, because look at that.
Yeah, again, look, it's a different lightning bolt. It's totally different lightning bolt.
This is probably my least favorite Flash suit. This right here. This is probably going to be my least favorite one right here. I hate the way it makes his head look. His head looks like a football, and I don't like the tone of the. I mean, I always think that the Flash should be bright red. That suit was never. That color always bothered me, but a lot of stuff about that network bothered me. So.
Yeah,
hello, rapper.
We got a few super chats too.
Oh, hey.
Tra.
Okay. Hey, if you want to, thank you for the support.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
And from Ella Purnell Simp, glad to have your house to talk about. We haven't watched the episode yet, but we'll get it. Okay.
Yeah, because I did it a couple years ago. When we did it the same thing we're doing that right now, but much bigger channel, much bigger channel. There's lots of changes to do. Yeah, thanks, H-Park. Yeah, we had a lot of fun talking. I like I said, that's a show that I can talk with you forever about, because I just love the show, and when I know what's going to happen and I'm still glued to it like I am, that shows you how good they do it. And like I said, tonight's House of the Dragon was just intense chess piece moving. There was violence and there was fucking, but it wasn't the main thing. And like I said, Allison Hightower, you're a jilf, because you're all right. So your kid is losing his head while you're banging the king's guards, which, by the way, you're not supposed to be doing, because he has an oath and he can be hung for that. But that's okay. While your kid's being beheaded by intruders in the paddles, you got the guy who's supposed to be guarding everybody. You're banging him. Okay. By the way, you opened up that very episode with him getting some, and I'm not going to be graphic, but I'm just telling you it wasn't up high. So that's twice in one episode. Right after you said we can't do this again, 47 minutes later, you're not only doing it again, you're doing it. Then this episode, you're like, okay, grieving family. They've risked too much. They can't be doing this. This is awful. We're more, nope. The episode ended with them fucking again. I'm like, so apparently, like I was saying in the recap, she's just going to, Olivia Cook is hot, by the way. So I don't think anybody's going to complain. But I'm like, damn, You were supposed to be like the most composed one, the one that was casting stones at Rhaenyra. For those of you who watch, because she slept with the same guy that you're banging like multiple times an episode. You pretty much wanted her banished and thought her claim to the crown was usually all this, and now here you are like, yeah, well, fuck it, I'll do it too. So yeah, well, if you're watching Game of Thrones, you guys know House of Dragon, you guys know what I'm talking about. Allison Hightower, the Greens, Team Stupid is what I call them, because Team Smart is the Blacks. You're gonna find out why. But, yeah, thanks for the support.
Chappie also asks thoughts of RoboCop. I do like RoboCop 2 a lot. I actually do agree it's very underrated.
Yeah, it's a hard movie to follow when you have an epic accidental hit like that. That was a massive hit. It's really hard to follow that up.
Yeah, and talk about another suit that was hard to move into. The stories about that. RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3 was shit. We can all agree on that.
Yeah, that was a cash grab.
Well, it was a half-hearted cash grab too.
They just wanted the money. They just wanted the money.
Yeah, RoboCop 3. Yeah, no, didn't feel it anymore. Okay, I'm sorry. I pulled the chat. I apparently wasn't supposed to read what the super chat said.
Oh, well, then you have to put, if it's a super chat, if you put at William, then at William, and I'll read it.
Yeah.
You want me to read it for you? Where is it? I can't find it now.
No, it's back up here. There we go.
Tra. There you go. Always aim to please.
Yeah. I think I know what William's answer to this is going to be. I think it's their first time seeing Cole Slot, so welcome aboard, One Cyber Airman. Would you rather have Batman versus Predator or Batman versus Alien? I already know what William's going to say.
Predator would he'd beat them both. He'd beat them both. The key to him beating either one of them is knowing that they were there. That's the thing. Once the Predator was going to do proper prey rules that he does, and I think Batman would have a technological at least go-to to counter the Predator. I think he would figure out, because if Bonehead Arnold did it with nothing in 1987, I think Batman, with his savvy and his technical, I think he would be able to. Plus, he knows the city better. He knows the city like the back of his hand. He could take the Predator to places where he would have the advantage, kind of like Arnold did. Everything you saw Arnold did to defeat the Predator, Batman will be able to do it in a quarter of the time because he's more prepared. As far as the Alien goes, once again, I think detecting the alien would be the first step. Once there'd be nothing that the alien would be able to do against Batman.
Okay, so you're proving me totally wrong here. I thought you were going to say neither.
No, I thought if it's a serious question, no. I'm trying to, because they've had Batman versus Predator.
Yeah, they have. They've had other ones where I've mentioned where you said like Aliens versus Predator versus Terminator and things like that. And you weren't like too.
Well, those are stupid because once you start putting Alien and Predator in the same sentence again after those rejects of movies, that turns my brain off. But when you actually put them against traditional superheroes in a hypothetical, I can go with it. But I saw Alien versus Predator, and I'm glad that we're never going to see those again, to be honest with you. All right, next one.
Let's see. Fort's asking what happened to the Rocketeer or the Selma, David O'Leary. Yeah, that got announced a while back and haven't heard much from it. So, might be having trouble getting off the ground.
Well, they probably couldn't get people to put money in together for it.
Yeah, it was announced it was going to be like a Disney Plus original. But yeah, we just haven't heard much about it in the ensuing years. So
yeah, still got to get paid for it. Yeah, if we're getting major Marvel shit canceled, you're not getting that. Sorry.
Oh, I think Chappie, he's talking about like these CBMs we got in the 80s. Don't forget how. Well, that actively set back CBM. If it weren't for Batman coming out 3 years later, I mean, I don't know where the CBMC would be today, much less back then.
Well, once again, to its credit, and thankfully, nobody knew that Howard, besides me, knew that Howard the Duck was a comic book character. So yeah, it's so good because if people would have associated that with a comic book, yeah, you might not have had a good road going forward.
Yeah. Yes, it was horrible. But apparently, we got to revisit it again in October. I know William can't wait.
And you know what? I do it. Clinton helped sponsor my trip to San Diego. So yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, Music Man says Batman Forever is a masterpiece, my favorite childhood film, in my top 10 of comic book films.
I really like Batman Forever.
I guess we need to do a watch party for at some point.
You know, because like I said, I thought that Batman Forever was the natural progression of 1989 Batman as he became more comfortable with other people and going on. And because Batman Returns, I just was like, wake me up when it's over type of deal. But Batman Forever was just, it was a lot of fun. And it had the perfect, I mean, I love Jim Carrey in that role. I wish that have catapulted him into other things, because as a Riddler, I loved him as the Riddler. I loved his look as a Riddler until the hair. The toys that they sold for that, so many fucking question marks everywhere. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
And I remember the teaser for it. It was the bat with the question mark around it, and it was. I like
that. Was all. Yeah, that was. I would say out of the original four, Batman Forever, as far as like the marketing went, that was the only one that really like. It was the only one that like that really went as crazy with the marketing as '89 did.
They made so much money. I would care to say that they probably made about 15 to 20% of the revenue from the marketing alone, because I know everybody was lining up for that, because like I said, McDonald's went all the way. When's the last time we get glasses and stuff all the time? I got the Batman '89 glasses at the store. I got Star Trek. I got the original Star Wars, but they're painted glasses, right? You don't see etched glasses before or since. Maybe somebody in the chat has seen anything like that. And I showed you those last night, guys. Those etched glasses, the cups that you got in the Happy Meals in 1995. I have not seen anything like that before, and I have not seen any. Those were laser etched back in the mid 90s. Laser etched wasn't something you got a lot of in the 80s, not for a fucking Happy Meal. So that's where Batman. And what did Batman Forever make? Hold on.
It did. Let me. We got another super chat from Larry. So pull that up. Have you guys seen these videos on YT of the game? At the Battle Simulator, they have mods like Predator, Xenomorph, Zero Scare. I have not. No, I've looked that up.
Are you talking about the ones where it's them versus like a billion, zombies or something like that, or the one-on-one simulators? Because I've seen them both. I've seen one for the Predator where you're using the Predator, you're seeing it through his eyes, and you're seeing him switch to different visions. I've seen that. But then I've seen the ones that I don't know which ones you're talking about, because I've seen the one where it's Darth Vader versus a million zombies, and he's using the Force to like hold them and blow them up. It's funny.
Okay, you guys are going crazy with the super chats tonight. I just got two more. One from Fourth. William, yes, thank you guys. William, how many times do you play Kiss from a Rose for the ladies back? Keeping a repeat.
No, remember I told you. Well, you weren't here last night, were you? For it? I called up Derek. There's a local DJ here. His name is Derek.
Yeah.
He's called the Groovy Doctor. We have been friends since I connected with him on the radio back in the mid 90s, because that's the way you did it. And he's on my Facebook page now. He's cool. I remember calling him and telling him to please stop playing that song. I hated that song. It was the only thing about the movie I didn't like. And we were making fun of it with each other that it sounded like the Irish Spring commercial. So he would get the Irish Spring commercial, and he would play that, and then he would play it right into the Kiss from a Rose song, and he would dedicate it to me. And then one time, and what ended up happening is he played my voice on the radio saying, please don't play the song ever again. So people kept calling up and requesting it. So that motherfucker did it like 5 or 6 times in a row just to fuck with me. He's like, hey, so now another hit from Seal, Kiss from a Rose. He's like, and I'm like, you motherfucker. It was funny, but it was like, I hated that song.
Well, and that's the thing too, because I mean that was I made the point too. It's like, you remember like when the Batman came out 2 years ago, it's like, something in the way was just everywhere with that. It's in the movie too, and like for Batman Forever in '95, I mean, Kiss from a Rose, that was all over the place with the marketing, with
video. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Batman Forever on a budget of $100 million, which is unheard of. It made $336 million, but that's just at the box office. Yeah, I guarantee you, there's another $100 million.
They made a freaking fortune off of that. That's why they get the next Batman movie out 2 years later. So.
All right. In addition to large line of toys, and the toy lines were huge back then. video games, action figures from Kenner,
I
McDonald's
had
food
that. I
chain.
had. I had that game. And it was designed like Mortal Kombat at the time, where you had like the 3D footage of everybody in it. So it was really cool. I got that for Christmas that year. It was on Sega.
McDonald's food chain released several collectibles and mugs to coincide with the release of the film. Peter David and Alan Grant, who those are not small names, wrote separate novelizations of the film. I had those in the store. Denny O'Neil authored a comic book adaptation which sold out.
Denny O'Neil did that?
Yes.
Oh, I never knew that. Oh, because that, I mean, talk about like comic book legends.
I have that. Six Flags Great
man.
Adventures theme park rethemed their Axis Chemical Arena, home of the Batman stunt show, to resemble Batman Forever. And the new show featured props from Six Flags over Texas, featured one-time fireworks show to promote the movie, and replica bust of Batman, Robin, Two-Face, and the Riddler can still be found at the Justice League store in the Looney Tunes USA section. The Batman ride opened at Six Flags St. Louis to promote the movie. Six Flags over Georgia, the Mindbender roller coaster ride was redesigned to look like it were a creation of the Riddler, and some images of the props are used. I mean, this and it only opened up in 2,800 theaters. Usually we get like 4,000. Batman Forever opened up to a record 2,842 theaters they did 4,300 screens in the United States and Canada on June 16, 1995, grossing $52 million in its opening weekend. Wow. Taking Jurassic Park's record for having...
That was like, you broke Jurassic Park records back then. That was like, I mean, and of course, I mean, like 50 million. That's kind of like an average open weekend now. I mean, that was absolutely gargantuan back in the 90s. And again, you broke the Jurassic Park record. So
it was the largest opening for Warner Brothers until 2001, when it was surpassed by Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The film also achieved the highest June opening weekend, holding that record until it was beaten by Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me, a fucking horrible movie, in 1999, which would then be overtaken by Hulk 2003. It was the first film to gross $20 million in one day on its opening day Friday. This movie was good. I mean, the movie also beat Congo, which was a hit.
Yeah, I remember like because then when Batman Begins was coming out, they did like kind of like the commemorative like re-release of the original four, and like the behind the scenes on Batman Forever. Akiva Goldsman actually talks about when they got the opening weekend numbers back. They said they were like, I mean, we thought it was a typo when we got like our opening weekend numbers back.
It was the second highest grossing film of 1995. Can you guess what was number one?
Toy Story.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what did Toy Story pull in? Toy Story.
Wow,
not by much. Not by much. Toy Story's pulled in $394 million. And Batman Forever pulled in, what did I just say?
Like 360 something or 330?
336. So it's not by a lot. I mean, you were up there.
And again, 330, 330, 340, and I mean, that kind of falls under like pretty good today. Back then, it was out of this world numbers.
That got you promoted. That got you part ownership of shit. So
that got you like, I mean, that got you your own parking space.
Yeah. I mean, we should do one. I love Batman Forever. Everything but that song. What was the soundtrack of that one too? Besides that shitty. It was Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne. Jim Carrey as Edward Nygma. Tommy Lee Jones, Nicole Kidman. I mean, listen, you literally have an Oscar list here. You have one guy who should have won one, but if he'd have done like Oscar-worthy movies instead of buffoon movies, he would have had it. And you have the rest of them, because Nicole Kidman, Tommy Lee Jones, and Val Kilmer are all Academy Award winners. I mean, Jon Favreau was an assistant in this. Oh my goodness, this is how far back this movie goes.
Yeah, and they also had like for Robin, they also auditioned. I mean, Chris O'Donnell got it, but I think it was Jude Law and Ewan McGregor also auditioned. There was a rumor.
These guys were like 90s in their 90s doing fucking Robin.
Yeah, and there was a rumor for the longest time that Christian Bale also he eventually debunked that himself, but there was a rumor for like ages and ages that he had auditioned for Robin. He had to debunk that when I think around when the Dark Knight came out.
Okay, this was one of the last true soundtracks. It was released in the mid 90s while we were still doing soundtracks. Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me by U2, and that goofy video was done by Schumacher. One Time Too Many. I don't know a lot of people know PJ Harvey, but in the mid 90s, Polly Jane Harvey was pretty big. You had to be there. Where Are You Now? Brandy, who was very big. Kiss from a Rose, which would like take over the world. The Hunter gets captured by the game. Massive Attack and Tracy Thorn. Not Marvelous. Nobody Lives Without Love. Eddie Vedder. Nobody knew who that was. Tell Me Now by Mazzy Star. If you don't know who Mazzy Star is, look up a song called Fade Into You. It was one of the bigger hits of the decade. Smash It Up. Smash It Up.
Yeah,
was in that song
the Offspring, yeah.
For
When he-
30 fucking seconds. And Offspring took that 30 seconds and pushed the shit out of that. I mean, congratulations to them.
And that's specifically that's the part where Dick Grayson is about the other car when Dick Grayson like steals the Batmobile and goes out joyriding.
Yeah,
that made me an Offspring fan.
That was right, and that song came out right when they were just hitting. All their other hits were just hitting. That was a perfect time. There's a Light by Nick Cave, The Riddler by Method Man, Passenger by Michael Hutchins and Iggy Pop from NXS. Crossing the River by the Devlins, Sunny Day Real Estate. I knew who that band was, and then Bad Days by Flaming Lips, which is a legendary band. That's a soundtrack right there. That was one of the last few. Dude, that movie was really. We're talking about Batman '89, but to me, if you know the movie, I rewatch more than any of those first movies because I don't rewatch Batman and Robin ever. And I remember the commercial for Batman. Because back then, okay, here's what they would do back in the '90s. You would have your trailers and your release stuff like that and your teasers, right? Once the movie was out for a week or two, they wanted that money still. So they would make new commercials for movies that had already been out. And I remember seeing one of the coolest ones. They took a scene from the movie, and it's like Truth Now. And then it had the score, Justice Always. And then it's Batman and Robin running in front of the bat signal. And it just, I don't know why. It probably was cheesy now if I look at it, but it was just cool the way they marketed movies back then. And this is when you didn't have the internet to do it. You had to do what we call line of sight. You had to be there in order for it to make a difference.
You know what else is all over the marketing? And by the way, we got a whole bunch of super chats I need to read in a
second.
No,
hit those. Go ahead, say what you're going to say, but don't forget those.
But it was, the other thing that was all over the marketing from the movie. They really used the line a lot. It's the car, right? Chicks love the car. That was all over the marketing. Larry, see what goes. Oh, come on. I think William would appreciate because they also have accurate historical armies, including ours.
Okay, so we're talking about something different. Hey, Larry, send a link. Send me a link somewhere because we might. Find out if we can play that on, or if we can show that online without getting copyrighted.
Yeah, and now several from Fourth. He sent like about $30. You're just making it rain for us lately with the super chats for us.
You know what? You're making my Comic-Con trip possible, man.
There used to be a grayer tower. Oh, okay. He's putting the lyrics of the song in the super chat.
Oh my god. So I have to do. Brad, do we have to read this? And I can't even sing the song. There used to be a great
tower alone on the sea. You became the light of the dark side. To be love remained a drug, the side, not the pill. Okay. You got another one here. But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light you shine can't be seen? Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the gray. Ooh, the more I give you, the stranger it feels. Yeah. Now your roses are blue. Well, light hits the gloom on the gray. You spent like $30 just to get to say that.
Thank you. You guys. By the way, Fourth, you're part of this. The memberships, the super stickers, the super things. I'm getting those. The super chats. Since we've only been monetized for half a month, and we're doing very well. I hope it continues. Like I said, I'm not greedy. I don't, I'm not like Campia where I get to the point where there's so many super chats I have to shut them down, which is a problem I would not mind having.
And we just got 4.
Okay, that's even great. But it will be cool to throw Brad some cheddar. He helps hold up the show. Vince is gonna. I'm hiring Vince for Comic-Con, so I'm gonna have him working his ass off. So these things help, guys. Like I said, I won't be buying fur coats and diamonds on him, but like I said, it helps when you're trying to upgrade the show. when you're trying to get to a StreamYard doesn't have the logo on it, and you only we would never be able to do our panels with that version of the StreamYards. Equipment, things like that, programming. I just I'm getting a program for an AI program so Vince can make the videos better. Just being able to get the microphone set up and the camera set up at the store. You see how the store, the stores are. All these things that you guys are doing help, and I'm like I said, I'm overwhelmed and happy to see where we just got monetized.
Likewise.
What, a week and a half ago, and we're doing well. I hope it continues. Like I said, it's just going to make the show better.
Yeah, it's very gratifying. So thank you all for that. And yeah. I mean, whatever song lyrics that annoy us that you want us to sing, we'll go ahead, send a super chat. We'll do it. It's like we will not hold our nose to that at all.
We had another one pop up. Two more. Okay.
We had two more. One from Chappie. What was the deal with filmmakers that would take drugs while making movies back in the old days, like Howard the Duck, Supergirl?
It's called the 80s.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I was gonna say.
And some of the 70s. The reason why a lot of artists, a lot of these guys, figured it added a dimension to their creativity. I know there were certain rock stars who would not write unless they had some cocaine. I don't know them personally, but when you watch the behind the musics and all these things like that, there are people who just could not write. I truly believe that Jimi Hendrix is he is the greatest guitarist to ever strum him. I truly believe that half of his career he was on heroin, including the night he died. And I truly believe that a lot of those guys in the late 60s and early 70s were on it, and some of their songs came from it. So when you're a creative like a director, it was just an impression that it gave them that edge. And when you're in the 80s, when you're in these environments, you feel invincible. It's like a lot of us. We do probably some things and eat some things that probably aren't good of us because we think we're invincible. But if you have the money, you have all that, and you're creating, you're on a high, you're at this level with all these other people, and they're all doing it. It's like you have to be part of that comparative. And sadly enough, unless you're a Rolling Stone, it had adverse effects on you. But yeah, a lot of these guys. I mean, Howard the Duck. The people on drugs are the people who
were the people who wrote the checks.
Yeah, those are the guys you need to test. But there's a lot of movies. Spinal Tap. I know there was some coke probably getting done around there. I wasn't there, but
Maximum Overdrive, Stephen King's directing debut. He's been very open about his drug addiction.
Yeah. But like I said, it's easy to look back, oh, you drug addict like now. But back in the 80s, and remember, it was just the rich people and the directors and the authors and the rock stars that could afford cocaine. Black folks, it was pot or pot. or pot and malt liquor until the mid 80s, and then crack came. That fucked up everything. That was it was affordable version of cocaine. I mean, I remember, like I said, when you want to talk about an epidemic, we woke up one day in the neighborhood where I lived in Southern California, what was considered South Central, but it wasn't gangland. And all of a sudden it just became, crack, guns grew out of the grounds like potatoes or some shit. And crack was everybody, it was the first time a lot of broke guys in that hood had that type of entrepreneurial money, unfortunately. But yeah, those other guys that were doing, you'll know when your artist is on crack, though. He won't be an artist.
That's the truth.
But for cocaine, yeah, there was a lot of guys, Guns N' Roses. I wrote 2 albums on cocaine. I mean,
Aerosmith, they were big time in it,
Aerosmith was doing speedballs from what I hear. By the way, speedballs is one of those things that it's not a frequent thing because it can kill you the first time you do it. John Belushi had so much cocaine and heroin in him, he could have killed 3 people. Chris Farley is another one. And he followed in the path of all those Saturday Night comedies, and he followed down the one of the most famous ones too, because he died way young. But like I said, it's when you get to, and I think a lot of it's pressure too, because you have to put so much of yourself into it when you're recording and you're filming and you're up, you're staying up 3 and 4 or 5, days in a row. It just, you need that enhancement. So that's the only thing I can tell you. It was just the tools of the time, Chappie. Looks like we got another, somebody's. Yeah, we got people.
You guys are just.
Thank you.
you're being like incredibly generous everybody tonight. So we thank you very much for that. Larry, first one up. I think it's the same thing. Epic Battle Simulator with armies of millions, but they have real armies, weapons, locations, but the mods are nuts. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I need to see that. Yeah, I need to see that because the ones I'm talking about are just ridiculous.
When you share, because when he shared that earlier, it's like I was thinking, like, is this like an offshoot of like Epic Rap Battles? Because that was the first thing my mind went to when you said Epic Battles of something on YouTube.
I see no Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, I love those. I love those so much. I love those. And Larry.
So we have Larry gifted 5. Larry gifted 5 memberships, and Ray gifted 5 memberships. Thank you to both of you.
Yes. And also he threw us $25. I bet it's fine to show, but just in case, here's some moolah. Epic Battle Simulator Vader versus millions of zombies, predators, xenomorphs. Let's go. Oh, is this one you're suggesting, or that they should do? Or
I guess no, these are ones that they've done. I just didn't know whether it was cool for us to. But look it up, see if we can find it. We'll wrap up the show.
And yeah, like I said, Rhea and Larry both gifted 5 memberships, so thank you guys. And yeah, I'm trying to think.
Use those emojis, guys. Use those emojis.
Is there any song I hate that you guys can like? It's like, because I again for the generosity you guys are showing, it's like I will happily like read off or like sing off. Okay, here's a good one, and because you guys love to torture me, I'm not a Beyonce fan, so crazy right now. You want to hear it? I'll do it. Throw a super chat. I'll do it. Then we got look it up though. So Epic Battle Simulators.
It gifted me one of our memberships. So okay, I'm already a member, but that's cool. I guess because I was there. That's neat.
Yeah.
Look at them. Look at them. Go look at the page. Go look at the YouTube page. Just outside of it has our. They're using emojis. It's cool.
Okay.
I'm gonna create one for Brad.
Oh, it's probably I bet it's got to be something raid related.
I'll figure it out.
Damn it! Come up. Okay. Oh, she just gifted another one.
Yeah, I saw. He got it. Rapper got it. Rapper got it. Rapper's like, hey, how do you get one?
You guys are awesome tonight. You guys are awesome all the time, except when you want me to watch a scary movie. But
even then, they got us to 15,500. By the way, I gotta hook up with that lady again, and we should need to still have our ceremony because we're about to have another AFSP. And by the way, Larry, I have not forgot about your charity. It's just been wacky. I've been dealing with issues, with the store and the air conditioning, but we are still going to do your Crohn's one when I'm going to have you on there. So we just need to work out that schedule. But we also we're going to do a double whammy. So we're going to, and I'll get the specifics headed towards Con because we have Twilight of the Gods and we also have Rebel Moon. All the Rebel Moons. Yeah. So I'm going to find a way to sandwich a fundraiser in there somewhere. We ain't going to go 6 months, but we're going to, we'll add on to our 15.5 total.
Yeah, again, we didn't think we were going to get 15 grand out of that first one. So it's like, I mean, you guys could very well, surprise us again this time with the generosity, Sharon. So, okay. So I think I found it here. It was 60,000 or 6 million aliens, predators, and zombies invade Darth Vader's base. Is that the one you're talking about, Larry? I think that's the one he's talking about. Why is my computer run so slow with this right now? Yeah, keep reading up the chat.
You got a Commodore 64.
Oh, I do not. And by the way, just a little bit of trivia, guys. I am actually playing "Kissed by a Rose" in the background right now. It just felt very fitting.
Oh Lord.
Okay, here we go. I think I got it here.
I can't believe Fourth did that, but yes, I can.
And the song does. I like the song. It doesn't annoy me like it does William.
Dude, it annoyed me in 1995 because he wouldn't stop playing.
Oh, no, I agree. It was you could escape it if you tried back during the Batman Forever marketing. Okay, here we go. Play this ad. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's like 28 minutes long. I think
is this the one?
Can I get the initial impression?
These are the ones I've seen. Is these the ones, Larry? Because I know there's a POV one as well.
Yeah. Ooh, it's pretty vast, though.
He's saying, yeah, that's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can play the whole half-hour thing of it.
Nah. It was, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we found it, so it's awesome. Thanks for sharing with us, Larry.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get Vince. I'll go ahead and go bring it back up. And
Okay.
just like skip through it because
Okay.
28 minutes is quite a bit of a haul.
Do the whole stream on it that way.
Let's see.
Okay, here we go. Let me pull it back up. I'm trying to think what else. Like is this fourth like gift on like saying like yeah again I'm not a Beyonce fan, and nothing against Beyonce fans. It's just I'm just ain't my cup of tea. So okay, so yeah, this is the vast with all the stormtroopers. Ooh, oh shit, this is yeah. It gets
Yeah,
you're
it's just
right. It does
more
get
down.
violent.
Yeah,
There's
the
like
zombie
there's like
ones is
mountains of bodies being formed here. And that's is that blood or is that like hydraulic fluid? Oh my god! Look at how they're just piling up like that.
Yeah, and
Holy
nobody
shit.
ever runs out of ammo. Nobody ever runs out of ammo. It's funny. We're gonna have to make Brad sing Beyonce's countries.
I said I'd recite the lyrics. I never said I would sing. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen these. I've actually sat through.
I've
actually sat through. It has Yoda, and it has one like I said where it's Darth Vader. Darth Vader is like using the Force to wipe out all of them. It's funny.
Yeah. This reminds me of World War Z, where the zombies are like climbing over each other to get
piling up. They're
over the
they're
wall in
Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Oh, this is comforting for you. Okay. They're funny though.
Oh, again, look at they are mountains of bodies being formed in this battle.
Speed to the end. You'll see how bad it is because it gives you a full panoramic view of what you've done.
Oh, now they're clamming over. Like there's like, my God in heaven.
One of them has like a Sea Whiz gun, like it has like a powerful Navy gun, a naval ship gun that they put in the middle of the field, and it's automatically and it just wipes all the zombies out, but it never runs out of ammo. It's hilarious.
This says right here there are 580,000 and counting kills so far for Team 1. Yeah. Just for Team 1, there's 90,000 and counting for Team 2. This is just.
It's hilarious. Oh, this the one with the aliens? There's one with the xenomorphs. Yeah, it's the one that's the xenomorphs. Yeah, this is that one's hilarious. And this is bullshit right here because all that acid would have melted everything else.
Oh yeah, that's true.
All you would have to do is shoot the aliens and to kill everybody else because all the acid would explode on them. And all of them that are doing the shooting would all that acid would be splattering.
This is like not one. There's not one survivor from this battle.
No, the antagonist ends up winning.
I mean, this is like the Battle of Gettysburg times like 80 million.
Look at all General Grievuses and all the. It's just a bunch of Grievuses and the AT-ATs. That's how it would have happened. They would have won, but there's a bunch of them.
Oh, that is I never seen this before, so thank you for letting me know because that was like again that is bodies just piling and piling like that.
There's a bunch of them though. There's a bunch of them. You can find them. And they have like different combos and everything.
There's no cooldown. It's just blasting away at each other for like half an hour. Like over 1 million of them just going at it. That is absurd. Like how much carnage there is there, it's packed into that. He says Vince says one of the biggest ships in this game is 17 kilometers long. Oh, Star Wars is like I remember seeing one. I think it was actually Film Theory did talk. It was kind of breaking down like how the Death Star would be manufactured, and apparently within Star Wars canon, that's where I learned that the Death Star is estimated to be about 87 miles across.
Which is, I don't know. The measurements.
Yeah, that takes. I mean, you're talking like 20 years to build something that big. That is insane. Oh, thank you for sharing that with us, though, because that was a wow.
I have seen those. Those are cool. I played them one day when we were doing a movie at the store, and I think it was Game of Thrones a couple of years ago because it was something that we were showing on the screen, and I didn't have any music to play, so I just played that. But it was with it was zombies versus Darth Vader, And so, but Darth Vader and Boba Fett. It was Darth Vader and Boba Fett versus a million zombies. I'm like, what people watched it though, man. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for tonight. Thank you. This has been a fun stream. We've covered a lot. Allergies are starting to get to me. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the content this weekend. We went thanks to Brad and RJ, who I wholly blame for us having a 4.5 hour show yesterday. But it was fun. It was fun, but it was RJ's fault too. RJ came in with his crazy ass topic and added the extra hour to the show. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the memberships. Like I said, we're just gonna put it into the show and see how nice we can make the show. I think you guys are gonna see the fruits of our results headed into San Diego. San Diego is going to be a really, 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 really. I mean, it's going to be my best effort. I'll probably leave Comic-Con with still more stuff to improve on. But if you watch my coverage last year versus this year, it's going to be like two different planets. So, you guys are making it happen. All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow. I'll be off. I'll be off tomorrow unless something hits. I guess people are going to want me to get on and zoom in on pictures of Cleveland / Metropolis.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might not. Probably not, but it depends.
Yeah, I think it's like, because again, what can we say? It's like, oh, here's a set picture with Clark Kent. I mean, okay.
Yeah, not the questions I need answered by DC right now. But like I said, if it balloons up to a big story, who knows? Usually I would take tomorrow off, but if duty calls, I'll be there. And yeah, that's a crappy name to a bad Jim Carrey movie, but there you go. Or Nature Call. There we go. All right, guys. Have a nice evening. Have a good Monday, if that's such a thing.
Try, everybody.